Sometimes I look back at the younger version of myself, and I almost smile, because I remember how simple I thought life would be once I chose God. I genuinely believed that being on God's side meant the road would be smooth, almost effortless. I thought pain belonged to unbelievers, and peace belonged to people like me who prayed and tried to do everything right. But then life started to unfold differently. I began to notice something I wasn't prepared for. The struggle wasn't skipping over me. In fact, some of the people I knew who loved God the most seemed to hurt the most. That confused me deeply. I didn't say it out loud, but inside I wondered, if God has a plan, if He's really watching over us, why does life feel so heavy sometimes? Lesson 316. Why does doing the right thing still lead to nights of uncertainty? Why does faith not always shield you from bills, heartbreak, sickness, or disappointment? Why does it feel like sometimes you pray and heaven stays quiet? These questions aren't just mine. They hit every believer at some point. And when you don't have answers, that silence becomes dangerous. It makes some people turn away from God because the pain feels more real than the promise. But I had to go back to the beginning, to understand why life feels this way. And the truth I found wasn't easy, but it was freeing. There was a time when suffering didn't exist. Before sin breathed its way into the world, pain had no name. And sometimes I wish I could have seen what that world looked like. The world God made for Adam didn't include sweat or anxiety or the ache of wondering how to feed your family. It didn't include heartbreak or betrayal or fear. That came later, when sin entered the story. One decision, one act of disobedience, and suddenly the world cracked. And when the world cracked, everything inside it cracked too. The ground that used to produce effortlessly now resisted. The body that was once eternal became fragile. Innocence became stained. And the human heart, your heart, my heart, learned what suffering feels like. Romans 6:23 says, "The wages of sin is death." And death didn't just mean the grave. It meant emotional death, spiritual death, mental death, and the slow, painful decay of a world that wasn't meant to carry this kind of heaviness. So no, suffering isn't natural. It's inherited. It's the shadow of a broken world touching everything we love. But that's not the whole story. I realized something else along the way. Suffering doesn't hurt the same way depending on how you look at it. The weight feels different depending on how you carry it. When I was young, I expected God to remove suffering from my life entirely. I thought faith was a shortcut around pain. But Jesus told us something very different. He said, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." John 16:33. He never hid trouble from us. He never promised a life without pain. He promised victory, but not escape. And sometimes I wonder why Jesus didn't choose an easier path. He had the power to become a king overnight. He could have reclaimed Israel, displayed glory, crushed armies, and never felt a single bruise. But he chose something else, something unexpected. He chose to feel what we feel. He chose the long road, the humble road, the road with tears and exhaustion and betrayal. He chose humanity before he chose victory. He walked through suffering to teach us how to walk through ours. And that changed the way I saw pain, not as punishment, not as abandonment, but as a place where God meets us differently, softly, quietly, deeply, because suffering tests what comfort never can. It reveals who we run to. It exposes what we rely on. It shows whether we lean on our own strength or fall into God's. And I've learned something simple but life-changing. A whispered, "God help me," in pain does more for the soul than 1,000 efforts to fix everything on my own. Jesus wasn't exaggerating when he said, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. He meant every word. But that coming to him only works when you stop trying to carry the world alone. If you run to the world for comfort, the burden grows heavier. If you run to God for comfort, the burden grows lighter. It's not instant, but it's real. And I didn't fully understand this until I started noticing something in my own life. Every time God blessed me, every time things became peaceful and easy, I slowly drifted. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't rebellion. It was comfort. Comfort making me forget who carried me. And when things started falling apart again, I would look around confused, wondering why everything felt off, only to realize I had quietly walked away from the one who held me together. But thank God for his mercy, because every time I turned back, he opened the door again. No lectures, no anger, just grace. Over time, walking closely with him became something I didn't want to lose. Not because he made life easy, but because he made life make sense. His wisdom fills the gaps that strength and money and intelligence can't fill. That's why Solomon asked for wisdom instead of riches or long life. That's why James says, if you lack wisdom, ask God, and you will lack nothing. That's why Proverbs reminds us that a person plans their path, but the answer comes from God. He already knows what you need. He already knows where you're heading. He knows the doors that must close and the ones that must open, but you only see that when you stay close. And here's the part we don't like to admit. There is no version of life on earth without suffering. None. You can be rich, poor, brilliant, unknown, powerful, or ordinary. Suffering still finds you. It doesn't pick favorites, but it doesn't get the last word. Revelation 21:4 gives one of the most beautiful promises ever spoken. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. One day, not here, but there, suffering ends forever. That hope isn't meant to make you passive. It's meant to make you strong. It's meant to remind you that pain is temporary and eternity is permanent. It's meant to keep your heart steady when life tries to pull it apart. The world tries to numb suffering with pleasure and distraction, but that only deepens the emptiness. What you hide in the dark grows stronger. What you bring to God loses power. So today, whatever you're carrying, let God handle just a piece of it, even a small portion, even a whispered prayer. Let him touch the part of you you've been trying to hold together alone. You don't need perfect faith for him to step in. You just need honesty. If this message reached you, share it with someone who might be asking the same questions you once asked. Someone who's hurting quietly. Someone who needs to know God hasn't forgotten them. I hope you have a peaceful day, and I'll see you in the next lesson. May God bless you.